How's it going, Ding Dongs? Welcome back to Ding Dong Drift. As you can see, I finally got glasses. I've been blind for probably a good 6 or 7 years. I haven't been able to see road signs, and I was just kind of winging it in terms of seeing things far away. So got glasses now. This is the new look. In the previous video, I showed you guys how I use my 3D scans to create my 3D models. And in today's video, I'm gonna show you how I convert my 3D models into printable pieces for any size printer. As you know, I don't have a gigantic printer. I just have Bambu Lab printers, and I use those to make my entire wide body in pieces. So let's head inside, and I'm gonna show you guys how I design everything, how everything looks, the process that I use to create printable pieces for my printers. All right, hopefully you guys can hear me well. Here is the finished design. I don't have a taillight right now, but this is the final model, and as you can see, it is pretty thick. So the way I designed this differently from last time is I created the entire model to be printed as one piece with wheel wells, with vents, and with this little other vent that I've been mentioning that will be used as a smoke exhaust for the wheel well. The idea behind this is if I print everything all as one piece, all a cohesive model, that when I make molds of this stuff, everything should fit perfectly because it's all made from one part. Instead of me printing, you know, the outer skin first, then designing another piece for the wheel well to fit into it, and then a vent as another piece, and then, you know, there's all these different areas where things meet and touch, and it can introduce a lot of fitment problems. To avoid all of that, I designed the entire piece as one huge giant model. And as you can see, it has mounting areas for bolt holes here. It has here underneath, I don't know how well you can see that, see the bolt holes right here for the side skirts. So the wide body will be bolted on, and then I'm going to use quick release arrow catches to attach the wide body to the side skirts and attach the bumper to the wide body. So the wide body is going to be the central piece that everything else will attach to. As you can see, the rear scan of the car, a lot is going to get cut off because I'm going to be doing this crazy radiator exhaust. So the radiator will be here. This is just the prototype, but it will eventually become the radiator exhaust, which will also still give me a functional trunk. It's not gonna be a huge trunk, but the trunk will be there, and I'll be able to use it for, you know, small stuff, because up to now, I haven't had a trunk at all. I think I'll have enough room to put the radiator right here on the rear shelf, and the fuel cell will go in between the frame rails on the bottom, right by the diff. Hopefully there's enough room there. So that's why I'm not designing this right now. I just made it fit here currently, with the current bumper and wide body and trunk and everything. Enough rambling about that. Let me show you how I split it all into printable pieces, because obviously my Bambu Lab printers, they have a 256 millimeter cubed print area, and that is not big enough to print a 5 foot or 4 foot wide body. So let me show you how I split it into pieces and how I join everything together. A very manual process, and I know there's many programs that can do this for you, but honestly I just don't trust them to give me a good layout of parts. So what I do is I make a 250 millimeter cubed box to give me some leeway for the print area. So basically this is my print area. As you can see, the whole model is inside of all of these boxes. So each box will be a printed piece. And then I duplicate the model as many times as there are boxes, and I go through and I Boolean each one. I make an intersection of the Boolean of the two parts. There we go. There's our first printable piece. Now you're wondering probably, how do I join them? So that's where these little pegs come in. So this is a 5x5 by 28 millimeter peg, and I place them, once I have all the pieces cut out, I place them at all the seams between the parts. So horizontally, vertically, and actually I missed doing the depth part. So some parts here on this model, pieces that join along the depth of the part. And actually I forgot to put pegs on that side. So it's been kind of a pain to get these pieces fitting well. So on the next side, when I do the passenger side, I'll be adding pegs to the depth so that these pieces that are joined, this way along the depth of the part are able to actually attach and align perfectly. So I like using these little pegs. All I do is use super glue, a thick super glue. So I got this one on eBay. It's a thick super glue. I don't know, it's not sponsored or anything, but it's a thick super glue that, you could just goober on in a nice big spot, and then as you squish the parts together, it spreads out nicely. It doesn't drip. It doesn't squeeze out like a thin super glue does. And with an activator, if you have the pieces lined up with the pegs, you can literally just, have the glue in there, have the pieces lined up with the pegs, have a little gap, you spray this in there, join the pieces together, and boom, it's stuck together. It's never coming apart. It's super strong. You don't have to plastic melt anything. I still plastic melt some parts, like some very large parts. I just use my soldering iron with a flat tip to melt the back sides of the parts just for added strength. That's basically it. That's all there is to it. And it's kind of awesome to see the pieces. Some of the pieces look insane. It's really cool to just look at them individually, because look at this part. The pieces are split into parts like this. Only 2 pieces in this entire model needed supports. This one right here, I could have honestly made this piece angled and I wouldn't need supports. This piece right here, this area needed supports because you can see it's not flat. It's a huge filament saver. Modeling things like this in pieces, you have to use no supports. Because the parts have large flanges on them like this, you can see the large areas where they join. The pieces don't flex at all, which is perfect for mold making. So now let's talk about print settings. I've mentioned print settings many times before, and I'm a firm believer that perimeters are the way to go and infill is pointless. So as you can see, I'm using 5% at Adaptive Cubic. The only reason to use infill at all is to support top layers and to give very flat areas of the print where the walls may be thin some slight rigidity. Otherwise, you can just print pieces hollow basically. And as you can see in all of my models, there's barely any infill in there, and that's why I use Adaptive Cubic. So it will add more support or more infill wherever it needs to support areas more, and the prints turn out perfect. And for this print, we're using 7 kilos of filament for the entire quarter panel of the wide body, and it's about 5 days of print time, but I have 3 printers and I'm almost done in just 2 days of printing. So let's go take a look at the printed pieces. All right, and there is the entire wide body. As you can see, it's almost done. I have 3 or 4 prints left, I think. Can't remember exactly. So I like to make a checklist of all the plates so that I know which ones I have printed so I don't lose track. And as you can see, I have 1 left after these 3 are finished printing. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm using 5 kilo spools from California Filament on the 2 X1s because it's a lot easier to run external spools on those than the A1 unless you don't have the AMS. But with the AMS, the A1 tends to complain a little bit when a spool isn't on the actual AMS. Yeah, I don't know why, not really sure. I'm running random colors of colors that I just don't use much, like this maroon. I have a baby blue in there. Colors that aren't on my website, but I have bought from California Filament, so just need to use them up because they've been sitting around a bunch. See it right there. Once this is finished printing, I have the whole wide body done. I will be showing you how I assemble it, even though I've already started. But it's very simple. Pegs, glue, put it together, done, and then we'll go test fit it on the car. All right, there is the complete 3D print. These white spots right here are all the big gaps I had. For some reason, I don't know how this happened, but this one piece was shifted over 2 millimeters. That's why there's this huge gap here, and I had to shave it down on this side because it wasn't fitting at all. I'm guessing when I made the pegs, the holes for them, I accidentally moved this piece in the model because, yeah, it was completely misaligned with everything else. But before we can test fit it on the car, I need to do some cutting. I need to cut these off, and I need to cut some of the body off right here because I designed it to be flush with the wheel well and not this part. So let's do some cutting. All right, moment of truth. Let's see if I can get this to fit. Because I gotta get it inside the wheel well first, and then have it wrap around and come up. Might be a little difficult. Side of the wheel well is in. Just having a hard time. I might have to jack it up because it's resting on the wheel right now. I might have to do some more cutting because this right now is in the way. I have a feeling if once I get it on, it's not going to come off. So this is no longer the issue. The issue is now here in the front somewhere. So maybe making it all one big piece was not a good idea. Or maybe it will be a good idea, we don't know yet. Well, there it is. Kind of cracked and separated in a couple areas. I think I need to trim more on the inside there because there's a big gap. I don't know if you can see that. There's a big gap here, which makes me believe that this part of the metal is pushing the plastic out because here it's flush. This is supposed to be a bolt hole here. So there's gonna be 2 bolts there, 2 bolts here, and then all of this is gonna be like basically free hanging because the rear is gonna get chopped off right here where the frame ends, where this reinforcement ends. It's not much of a frame, but it's there. So it's gonna get chopped like right there. As you can see, I made it short so that I can glue this on, shave it down, and then body filler to match the trunk. Doesn't fit that great, so something wrong with the scan here or something happened, I don't know. Something's not matching up nicely. Probably because the piece is so warped. Because of this piece, which then cascades down and ruins everything else, so oh well. But you can see it cracked right here, which is weird. It could have cracked where the filament changed, and I mean, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, besides that, it's looking good. It's crazy how tight it fits. Obviously, once I make molds of everything, it's gonna be a lot easier to put stuff on and on, off and on and off. So what is the next step? Instead of doing it like last time where I finish the whole car, do everything and paint it and all that, I think I'm gonna do it a little differently this time and go straight into the mold making process. But first I have to do the door. And before I can do the door, I have to do the front fenders too, because, well, I have to get at least a scan of the front fenders because, well, if you don't know, SCs have these double action door hinges, and the door goes around the fender, around the stock fender. As you know, in the design, I have this pushed out, same as the fender, so they're both pushed out, and obviously that won't work because if this is sticking out more and this is sticking out more, they're gonna collide right here. So I'm gonna have to do some sort of figuring out on that area. I'm looking for some stock fenders so that I can scan them and start figuring out how I am going to get this to fit. I think what I'm gonna do is, Jesus, who is fucking yelling? Something in the fender will have like a cavity like this where the door will go inside of it. Not sure how I'm gonna figure that out. I might just have to do like some sort of vent or something, or maybe I just won't be able to do the door and fender sticking out together. It might just have to come out from the fender. So we will see. I'll have to figure that out once I have some fenders because I don't want to ruin those. I've had a couple people ask about the wide body. They want to buy it. Just waiting for that to go through, hopefully. Someone buys it, because that would be sick if it lived on another car. In the meantime, I'm gonna start printing the other side with some changes. And I think I'm gonna have to take this off and do some more trimming of the metal on the inside here because it's very tight right now. So there's some stuff that needs to be trimmed. It's very hard to put the wide body on. Yeah, just some stuff needs to happen before. Like this needs to be trimmed. You can see this is hitting here. And I think that's pushing the rest of it out. And it's actually hitting on the inside. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'll have to figure something out. Maybe it's supposed to be out more. I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Check out the Patreon if you want to see earlier updates and earlier videos and behind the scenes stuff in terms of like the designing and stuff. And make sure you hit the bell when you subscribe so you don't miss live streams. As you know, my live streams are completely unplanned. And if you have the notification bell enabled, you will get a notification when I go live. I've also been getting comments, people saying that they've been getting unsubscribed, which is weird. So if you think you're subscribed, double check, make sure you're actually subscribed. Because yeah, that's weird. It's been happening. Happy holidays, peace out, stay sweet, and I'll see you guys next week or the week after because I'm going on vacation. So peace out.
America, America. Do you have your passport? Did you get your driver's